Tonight, 4 people seriously injured in a highway crash.
Advance Cairns wishlist ahead of the state budget.
Cowboys make the cut in the NRLW expansion.
And Hollywood A-listers arrive in Cairns.
This is 7 News with Rob Bruff and Danielle De Pinto.
Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good evening.
A man's leg has been partially amputated and 3 other people have been seriously injured in a shocking head-on crash on the Smithfield bypass. A minibus with 11 people on board collided with a ute this morning, closing the main road for hours.
The busy Smithfield bypass came to a standstill as a sea of emergency services scrambled to treat 12 people involved in the shocking crash. The minibus collided head-on with a Toyota Hilux around 10:45 this morning.
Those injuries ranged from fractures of arms and legs to more severe injuries, partial amputation of a leg.
Emergency crews spent 2 hours freeing the minibus driver in his 60s whose lower leg was trapped in the crumpled cabin.
Required quite a bit of time to extricate that patient, involving a tow truck to separate vehicles and extricating him out the window.
The minibus was carrying 11 people, 9 of whom are tonight being treated in Cairns Hospital. 3 were seriously injured, while a 62-year-old man remains in a critical condition.
It was a very confronting scene for paramedics, and it was quite a complex scene with patients strewn across the road.
The bypass was closed for 6 hours today as forensic crash officers examined the scene. Police are now calling for any witnesses to come forward.
We will be investigating and our forensic crash unit will get to the bottom of what's happened.
Jordan Quinn, 7 News.
Far North industry leaders have unveiled their wish list ahead of next week's state government budget. Advance Cairns CEO Nick Tromp is pushing for money for the Cairns Hospital, as well as millions of dollars for Council's water security project.
The federal election is done and dusted, and all eyes are now on the state government's budget.
I think our view of the state budget next week is that it's 2 years until the next election, so we're not going to see the windfall that came in the federal budget and election campaign.
And Advance Cairns wants the far north to have its fair slice of the pie. On top of its wish list is more money for the Cairns Hospital.
The highest priority that we're looking forward to next week's budget to have significant commitments in is around health.
It's also seeking an update on the money promised for the Marine Precinct. And it wants the state to match the federal government's $107.5 million commitment for Council's water security package. Cairns MP Michael Healy was tight-lipped.
All will be released in the budget.
But he says the health sector would be a top priority for the region.
There is absolutely no doubt that expanding our hospital is a priority. We've made it very clear to both the Premier and to the Treasurer. We've had some very positive discussions and I'm looking forward to some very positive outcomes when the budget is released.
Frank Russo, 7 News.
It's official out. North Queensland Cowboys will enter a women's team in next year's NRLW season. The expansion from 6 to 10 teams was confirmed this afternoon. With our Cowboys, one of the news sides.
Townsville is no longer a one-team town.
And from 2023, the Cowboys will be proudly part of a 10-team competition with the NRLW.
There will be double the cheers as the Cowboys become one of 4 teams added to the NRLW from next year.
It'll take place over 11 weeks, so it'll have 9 rounds.
The Sharks, Tigers and Raiders will also join the competition. The ARLC fast-tracked the expansion after initially touting just 2 teams.
And ultimately the vision is for us to have a competition that has the same amount of men's teams and women's teams.
The Cowboys' inclusion has been 4 years in the works, setting up development pathways rather than pushing for a team in the comp's inaugural stages.
We did that with a view of being in 2023 and being able to see now the strength of those pathways coming through.
An area the NRL is now happy to showcase.
We have over 1,000 in Townsville or the broader North Queensland area.
It's growing in Townsville, it's growing in Cairns, so that pathway is now paying, I suppose, a dividend.
The 2022 season kicks off in August and we'll see plenty of North Queensland talent running around in other colours. But the club can now turn its attention to bringing those girls home.
And one of the things that we will be very stringent on is welcoming regional Queenslanders and North Queenslanders into our side.
Joey Dunlop, 7 News.
Far North Police has appointed a new chief superintendent, and Glenn Morris isn't wasting time. The long-serving officer says he'll be focusing his attention on stopping stolen cars and curbing crime in the CBD.
Glenn Morris has spent more than 3 decades in the force. Now he's taken on a new challenge in the far north.
It's an absolute privilege to be here.
He's the region's new chief superintendent and hasn't wasted any time getting up to speed.
There's been significant increases in property crime over the past 12 months, particularly around stolen vehicles.
It's an area he wants to focus on, as well as cracking down on DV offenders. Across Cairns and the Cape, police receive 300 calls for help every week.
So we're seeing about a 50% increase in breaches of DV orders occurring within this district.
But another major issue is crime in the CBD, something small business owner Erin Wells knows all too well.
I've been here for 12 years, it's never been this bad.
Her shop windows have been smashed several times, but she admits a new mobile police beat is working wonders.
Hasn't fixed the problem, but it's definitely helped.
Glenn Morris is eager to work with the community and other agencies trying to find new ways to curb crime.
We're always continually looking at how we can improve.
Jordan Quinn, 7 News.
A deal has fallen through between a Far North medical facility and one of the country's biggest private health insurers over the cost of treatment. Cairns Private Hospital says some patients will face thousands of dollars in extra fees from August.
The cost of living is already taking a toll, and now patients at Cairns Private Hospital could be facing another hit to the hip pocket after talks with Bupa broke down.
We won't be signing an agreement with Bupa on the current arrangement.
The hospital, which is owned by Ramsay Health Care, was trying to negotiate on insurance costs with Australia's second largest private health insurer.
About a third of our patients are Bupa insured. We're really disappointed that Bupa doesn't recognise the additional costs it takes for us to look after patients in the current environment.
This means from August 2nd, Bupa patients will be faced with thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket expenses.
There are options to switch health funds if people are concerned about paying that additional out-of-pocket.
But in a statement to 7 News, Bupa said it was still in talks with the healthcare provider. We are surprised to hear this. We are continuing to talk to Ramsay to reach a balanced outcome, keeping our customers and affordability at the centre.
This is about providing safe, high-quality healthcare, and Bupa isn't recognising that.
Frank Russo, 7 News.
Actor Orlando Bloom has touched down in Cairns ahead of filming his new movie. The A-lister arrived with partner pop star Katy Perry and their daughter this afternoon before driving to their accommodation north of Mossman. Bloom is starring in Aussie director David Michaud's film Wizards, which will be shot in various locations across the region. 7 News understands his co-star, comedian Pete Davidson, is also in Cairns ahead of filming, but his girlfriend, Kim Kardashian, hasn't been spotted.
We'll take a break. In a moment, masks come off at our Queensland airports.
And the new rail bridge helping the cane industry chug along.
Cairns turns to 7 News to keep up to date on local issues, and we want you to be a part of it. If there's something happening in your street, your suburb, we want to know about it. Send us a message or drop us an email.
Welcome back to 7 News. The mask mandate in all Queensland airports will be lifted from Friday. Staff, travellers and visitors to airports across the state will be able to take their masks off from midnight June 17. The move was today adopted by State Health Minister Yvette D'Arth on the recommendation of the Australian Health Protection Principal Committee. But masks are still required on all commercial flights.
Our local music scene is set to receive a boost from the state government in next week's budget. $20 million will go directly to creating new music festivals to encourage road trips to all corners of our state.
A rave near the reef or an orchestra in the outback, they both sound like a great idea to boost regional tourism.
$20 million over 3 years. When you look at the size of our state, it's a really, really good investment. There's a strong focus, obviously, in regional areas.
Next week's state budget will put the money towards a road trip music festival hybrid, bringing events to the Sunshine Coast, Toowoomba, Mackay, Whitsundays, Townsville and Cairns from May next year.
We can make sure that we build this so people can go and spend a week or two in one region and then go to another.
So when they start in, for example, Brisbane, we want them to come up.
Artists outside the Big Smoke say the new festival trail is a chance to discover untapped talent.
A really good scene, just a little hidden, unfortunately, but I think with the right money coming through and some exposure for these guys, I think it would be a really good thing coming.
And give a much-needed boost to an industry still reeling from 2 years of lockdowns.
We all had a bit of a lull period, so it's good that they're investing money into actually bringing shows, and hopefully venues can bring some working musos back into venues as well.
They were absolutely hammered by COVID, so the opportunity to ensure that we get our live music back.
Lawrence Jeffcoat, 7 News.
A new multi-million-dollar rail bridge has officially opened on the Cassowary coast just days ahead of the cane season. Work began on the North Johnston structure late last year, and there were a few snappy sticky beaks keeping an eye on progress.
The North Johnston Cane rail bridge has withstood everything from floods to cyclones.
I was well and truly ready for replacement.
It's been a vital part of Innisfail's sugar industry for 80 years. But after all that time, it's come to a close.
MSF Sugar's been undergoing a replacement program on a lot of bridges over the past 4 or 5 years.
Construction of a new $5.6 million replacement began in August last year, and not without a few hurdles.
We had a couple of nosy crocodiles that we had to be extremely cautious with.
The 144-metre structure is up to 3 metres higher than its predecessor and is open just in time for the start of the crush.
The growing sector are really excited about this because it gives them a surety that there's a long-term business investment continued from MSF Sugar.
600,000 tonnes of cane is transported over the river to the South Johnston mill each year.
The value of that cane is approximately $40 to $50 million depending on the sugar price, so it's a huge investment.
The bridge can carry up to 32 locos a day during the season.
It can be up to 600 tonnes of cane behind each loco, so that's a significant amount of cane each day that will cross the bridge.
But the safety message remains the same.
It's an active railway line and we want to maintain vigilance in the community.
Frank Russo, 7 News.
Fantastic project for the region and just in time for the crush.
It's looking good too. Going to make a difference there. OK, let's get into the sport now, Dave. As we heard earlier, mate, a historic day for our Cowboys.
Yeah, how good, Bruffy. North Queensland are one of 4 new teams to enter the NRLW next year, and now it's all about assembling a roster. We'll have more on that next, plus the latest on the Luciano Leilua deal and the Whitewater Rafters back from Bosnia with another world title. And welcome back to 7 News. As we heard earlier, the Cowboys will enter the NRLW next year, and while a lot of North Queensland players will line up for different teams this season, it's hoped some will be back here for 2023. The Cowboys BMD Premiership side, the Gold Stars, have a host of NRLW contracted players like Romy Teitzel, Emma Manselman, Shania Power and Destiny Brill.
Most North Queensland kids grow up watching the Cowboys, and obviously everyone wants to play in the NRL, and that definitely wasn't a pathway, like you said, for women, and at the moment it is, and it's right here in our backyard.
The club's pitch to enter the expanded NRLW was to bring the likes of Teitzel back to play in their home region.
We didn't want to put in a bid with a team here if all those ladies were going to be playing for Newcastle, Gold Coast, the Roosters. So I think without being able to confirm categorically that all of those girls will be back here next year, we'd like to think that.
Canberra, Cronulla and the West Tigers are the other new teams to make up the 10-team NRLW in 2023. Meanwhile, Cowboys football manager Michael Luck says they haven't yet signed Luciano Leilua for the men for the rest of the NRL season. Despite expressing interest to bring the West Tiger to the club immediately, Luck said there's plenty more that needs to be settled before Leilua heads north.
The West Tigers put out a statement yesterday. Luciano Leilua had signed with the Cowboys, but that isn't the case yet. North Queensland's made it no secret they want to bring the Tiger to town early.
We'd be keen to have him here for the rest of the year. There's a bit of water to go on the bridge to finalise all of that.
Yesterday's news the deal was done certainly came as a shock. The Cowboys have assured there's no cap pressure to sign him for the rest of the year.
We were approached yesterday morning by his current club to see if we had any interest in him coming early.
He'd just have to pass everything medically and get through potentially representing Samoa next weekend. But with long-term injuries to Mitch Dunn, Helam Lukey and Tom Gilbert, bringing Leilua early makes sense. Tom Dearden is also expected to have representative duties again after being the Maroons' 18th man in Origin 1.
To even be part of the preparation and watching the likes of Daly Cherry Evans and Cameron Munster and Ben Hunt prepare, it was a really good learning for me.
He'll have to put his learnings into practice this Friday, duelling with DCE at Brookvale.
Really looking forward to it. I think he's one of the best halfbacks in our game, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of lining up against him.
Meanwhile, Griffin Neame could make his international debut, joining fellow teammate Peter Hiku in New Zealand's squad to face Tonga. Cowboys captain Jason Taumalolo has been named in Tonga's extended squad. Joey Dunlop, 7 News.
Well, the Oz Crocs have snapped up another world title following the completion of the World Rafting Championships. The Far North side actually won 2 gold and 2 silver medals to take out the under-23 title in Bosnia.
The rushing rapids of Bosnia were no match for the Oz Crocs.
It was an amazing feeling, from where we've all come from to where we are now. It's just an amazing achievement.
The under-19 title holders are now the under-23 reigning champs after bringing home the gold at the 2022 IRF World Rafting Championships.
We've been together for over 5 years now. We've always known each other, and I think that just puts us one step ahead.
COVID put a bit of a stop to international competition for a few years, but the moment we could get back into those competitions, we went again.
A points-based event, they took out the top gong thanks to their podium finishes over the 4 events.
We ended up coming away with silver in the sprint and the slalom, and we came away with gold in the head-to-head and downriver.
The waters of Bosnia are different beasts to the Barron.
In Bosnia, the rapids were a lot longer and there was less pools compared to Tully, where they had big pools and big rapids.
It was all brand new to us. We'd never seen the river. We had 1 practice day prior to the downriver event.
But they're not done there.
3 in a row, get a hat trick, that'd be great.
With no scheduled race on the horizon yet, we could see some competition back at Tully.
At this point in time, we're waiting. It might take a month or so before we find out our next location.
Emma Halliday, 7 News.
And Liam summed it up perfectly. Amazing achievement, and all with 1 practice run. How good are they, guys?
A talented group, aren't they? Yeah. Well done.
We'll stay with us after the break. Livio will be here with all the weather details.
G'day, Livio Regano with tonight's weather. Well, the weather pattern that put half of Australia into a week-long deep freeze has now passed, and Queensland's enjoying a well-earned stretch of balmier weather. The ocean trade winds do, of course, bring more cloud than those lip-cracking southerlies, but any showers this week should be very isolated. Last night got down to 20 degrees in Cairns, which is so much more pleasant than 15. Today's top of 28 was also very agreeable, and most other stations followed the same trend. Let's look at the satellite loop now. You can see the trade wind pattern is back simply because we're getting to see the patchy cloud now in the Coral Sea. That's where the wind is coming from, having come from land for so many days before it finally started to turn around. So there is a bit of coastal cloud. Showers have been few and far between, amounting to less than a few millimetres in most cases, and generally most places had a day of fine weather. On today's chart, we have 2 high-pressure systems now, both of them quite weak. One's way out to the Tasman Sea and another new one is moving over central Australia. This zone between them is a zone of very light winds, which has made for a very pleasant day, though a little bit of cloud, slightly more of a southeasterly trade once we move north because the isobars are just that bit closer together. On tomorrow's chart, we're going to wake up to quite a bit of fog in the early morning simply because the isobar pattern is so open and the winds will be light. A very pleasant day though statewide, not that much cloud. On the outlook chart, now we start to see a light southerly change come through as this next high moves over, and by Friday and Saturday that'll bring the temperatures down a little bit. And now the boating forecast for Cairns waters: south to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots tomorrow. On Friday still 15 to 20. On Saturday could get up to 25 knots. Tomorrow's the last day of really big tides before the moon starts waning and swing starts narrowing. It's the night tide we're most concerned about. The daytime one's just a baby. North tropical coast and tablelands, partly cloudy, possible showers in the south only. Cairns 20 to 29 degrees, 23 for Atherton, Innisfail 25 and Mareeba 27. Looking ahead for Cairns, steady temperatures in the high 20s for most of the week, with nights a few degrees warmer than what we've been used to. Cloudy at times, but little if any rain. Atherton's returning to normal as well. We're getting tops in the low 20s, which is quite cool of course, and bottoms around 13, 14 degrees. And that's all for this evening, my friends. It's been a pleasure once again to have your company. Thank you for watching 7 Local Weather. I will be back tomorrow with more on this chapter. Hope you can join me then. Now it's back to the team.
Thanks, Livio. That's all from us for tonight. Thanks for your company.
And of course, if you'd like to watch anything again, catch up on our 7 Plus app or our page, 7news.com.au. See you tomorrow night. Good night.
Good night.